Happy New Year, guys. Hey, what is going on? It's DK, back at you with another video here to break down the 10-game NBA main slate on Friday. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports, daily fantasy sports slates. Before we get into the video, I want to thank you guys again for the continued support, closing in on 7.25 thousand subscribers on YouTube. If you do enjoy this content, would really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos you don't want to go live. As always, I'll be doing a free live stream probably around 5:30 Eastern. I'll tweet it out when I do go live to break down the slate. If you guys cannot watch these videos, I do upload on the Apple Podcast. I have a link down below. And if you guys are interested in signing up for premium content, and I offer that on patreon.com, you guys can go check out the different packages I have to offer. Also linked down below. But with that all out of the way, let's jump into the video. So before we get into the players and the prices, again, for this 10-game slate, let's take a look back at my lineup here from Thursday. And Thursday, I thought I was going to avoid the BS. I really did. I was this close. And then ejected Brandon Ingram. He got ejected. Yep. So let's go over my lineup. And we got a blowout here in Oklahoma City, New Orleans, which should have stayed close. So we had half the games again blew out on this slate. But yeah, I was really high in the Sacramento Houston game. So my core tonight, given to all Patreon members, was John Wall, De'Aaron Fox, Rashawn Holmes. All fire. Holmes 10% owned, 50 fantasy points. Brandon Ingram as well. Gets ejected. He was on pace to go for 50 plus fantasy points. So it's every night. It's every single night. Tonight though, I should be able to cash pretty easily in GPPs just because there's a ton of blowouts. In the last game, there's not a ton of ownership in Phoenix and Utah, so should be good here. But man, and this blowout too, the Ingram ejection plus the blowout killed. It could have had a really, really big night. And then Boogie Cousins. So I took the risk there. I told you guys in the Patreon stream too. I was taking the risk with Boogie. He had a really nice first shift. He was really productive. The second shift, unfortunately, he only played a couple minutes. They played really bad. Sacramento went on a run, so they just pulled him. So that was the risk of Boogie. Right? We didn't know if they would play alongside Wood at all. I don't think he did. I think it was strictly the backup to Wood, which will make Boogie a lot riskier going forward if he's only going to continue to play the backup center role. But yeah, that's just, again, I was this close. I thought, oh man, this is the first slate this year that I'm avoiding blowouts, injuries, foul trouble. I was man, I'm going to have a huge night. Finally, I actually get some, no bad luck. And then, yeah. Oh man, it's frustrating, but again, it should be a really, really good night for me. Rashawn Holmes was absolutely key. 10% owned, 50 fantasy points. I'm gonna hang on in tournaments for sure. It just could have been I could have had takedown potential if Ingram doesn't get ejected and this game stays close. But that's how it goes. Also, we did get some breaking news after lock. Pascal Siakam ruled out. That's kind of just crazy with 2020. Just got to keep on top of news, especially this year. So it propelled a guy like Van Fleet to be a really good play. Obviously Lowry, I don't think Lowry did as good, and made Norman Powell, Boucher more viable. But unfortunately, I wanted to get Van Fleet in, but I had all my guards already locked up, and my two centers were in the early game, so I couldn't get him in there. But again, it's always important to stay on top of the news, guys. But yeah, that's really it for the look back. Hope you guys had a good night. Hope you avoided the ejection. And let's see if we can keep it going here for this 10-game slate on Friday. So we only have 5 of the 10 games out right now. Memphis, Charlotte, it's a 219 over under. Hornets, a 3.5 point favorites. We have Hawks, we have Nets, a 245 and a half over under. The Nets are 6.5 point favorites. Bulls and Bucks. The Bulls are pretty short-handed, a 231 and a half over under, but the Bucks are 14.5 point favorites in this one. Clippers, Jazz, a 225 over under. The Clippers are 2.5 point favorites, and Trailblazers, Warriors, a 231 over under. The Trailblazers are 4 point favorites. So Let's go team by team again. I told you guys how it switched up, kind of, go back and forth with team by team versus position by position. Let's go team by team here. So started off with Memphis. Jonas Valanciunas to the top at 8-3. I like the matchup from a good amount here against Charlotte. With no Ja Morant, again, the offense is going to run through him. He did only play 24 minutes that game because it was blowout. I expect 30 to 35 from him. Again, he's a very high usage guy. So I do have interest in Jonas Valanciunas at the top. Dylan Brooks, again, they didn't play a ton because of the blowout, but he's a guy that's going to have to step it up offensively. Did only shoot 6 of 18, still put up 26 fantasy points. So the issue I have with Dylan Brooks is sometimes reliant on the scoring. But again, no Ja Morant. It's him, JV, and even a guy like Kyle Anderson has been playing well this year. These three will have to play better for Memphis to be stay competitive in these games. But this is a good matchup, right? That they should be able to keep this game competitive. So those top three guys, I think all are firmly in play. The value, like Tyus Jones at 5-1, is just about right. He'll play probably over 30 minutes. Not a super high usage guy. I don't know if we have to go there. I'm fine if you land on him. Brandon Clark's at 5-1. I expect mid-20s minutes. He's a higher usage guy. I think he's a fine play, but again, not really necessary. And the potential value here. So no DeAnthony Melton. Again, no Ja Morant. Grayson Allen is doubtful. So they're really, really thin at the guard position, right? So if this game stays competitive, Tyus Jones, Dylan Brooks, these guys are going to have to play a ton. I think an interesting value play here is Desmond Bane. Should have to play a good amount of minutes. He played 32 minutes, had 25 fantasy points, and got extended a bit because of the blowout, but they really don't have anyone on the bench they can play for guards. So Conchar will probably have to get some decent run. He played 23 minutes. These guys are potential value, really. I know it's gross, but I think they're definitely viable plays. On the Charlotte side, this is one of my least favorite teams. It's just hard to nail down where the production's going to come from. Gordon Hayward last night just absolutely sunk my lineup. 4 of 16 for Gordon Hayward shooting. So normally it's the top 3 guys. That last game, Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball just decided to not miss. Miles Bridges, 20 points, 16 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 blocks. And LaMelo Ball finished with 7 of 10, 22 points, 8 boards, 5 assists, 1 block, and 1 steal. So, these guys off the bench clearly have some upside. It makes it trickier for Charlotte. I love the matchup, but I don't know who's going to have the good game. So, all these top guys are in play with, the top 3, obviously. I think you can look to Bridges. I'm not going to go. I don't think a repeat performance is going to happen. You can look to Melo Ball. Again, don't think he's going to shoot that well again. PJ Washington got limited. The minutes are he goes from 29, 35 to 18 minutes. I guess, again, 5 fouls. That obviously will do it, but he should play more minutes if he can stay out of some foul trouble. Biyombo, I think, is okay for value with no Cody Zeller. Should play about 30 minutes. Not a super high usage guy. But really, again, this team is just hard to try to figure out. So for on a 10-game slate, I'm probably just going to avoid them. I think it's just a headache to try to nail down which one's going to be at the moment. Again, pricing on Hayward, Rozier, Graham is fine. I think my favorite is still, we're still getting terrible shooting after terrible shooting days for Devontae Graham. A good shooting game is going to come eventually for him. But it's just, I don't want to mess with this team on a 10-game slate. So for me personally, I'm not going to go there. On the Miami side, don't have a ton of interest. Jimmy Butler looks like he's coming back. That takes Dragic, that takes Hero kind of out of play for me. They're priced up too for when Jimmy was out. So Bam and a buyout 18 at 8-2 seems priced about right. So really, this is a team I don't have a lot of interest. On the Dallas side, kind of the same thing. Luka has burned me multiple times already this year. He just doesn't look like the same player. So that means tomorrow, for this slate, he's going to go off when I'm not on him. I just know what's going to happen. The matchup's not great. Again, he looks out of shape. So I'm not going to go to Luka, but that means he's probably going to smash tonight. And then, the value with Dallas, I think Dorian Finney-Smith is still okay. Again, was on pace for over 30. He's not a super high usage guy, but 24 minutes, 16 fantasy points. He's usually going to get about 30 minutes and probably somewhere around 20 to 30 fantasy points on the high end. I think he's okay value option, but again, not a priority. Jay Rich and Hardaway, Jay Rich at 4.9 does look like a decent price for him. Again, he shot 1 of 10. I actually think Jay Rich is probably my favorite play on the Dallas side, but really not a ton of interest here for me for this game. Let's move on to Boston and Detroit. So good matchup for the Boston side. Tatum, Brown, 8-6 and 8-1 respectively. When they're priced about the same, I'm going to give the edge to Tatum. Even though Brown had the big game last game, I just think Tatum is more consistent. So yeah, I'll prefer Tatum, even though Brown had again shot lights out that last game. Both are definitely viable in a good matchup, but I would prefer Tatum. Smart's just not needed on this slate. Tristan Thompson's back, so it kind of just hurts these centers with Tice, Robert Williams, Tristan Thompson. All should play about 20 minutes or so. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the starting lineup. Do they go to Teague starting a point guard? If they do, then I think Teague is actually a pretty solid value play. He was on pace to crush that game against Memphis, and then it blew out. So if Teague does start, I would have interest in him at 4-2. Wouldn't mind Pritchard at 3-7. Don't know if we have to go there. Again, should play somewhere around 20 to 25 minutes. But that's really it for the Boston side. So move on to Detroit. So Detroit, one injury news to monitor or to go over. Blake Griffin's out. So that's a pretty big boost to some of the other guys in the offense. Jeremy Grant at almost 7K. This is a tougher spot. I'm probably not going to do it. Derrick Rose at 5'9" does intrigue me a little bit more. Again, he's a high usage guy at the bench. Should play high 20s minutes. I think he's an interesting GPP play. Not really a cash play. Now, Mason Plumlee at 5'7", I think is a cash play. He'll play about 30 minutes. He'll stuff the stat sheet. I think he's a perfectly fine option. Josh Jackson, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the starting lineup. Do they move? He's been played out the bench. He's been starting. He's been playing pretty decent. I think he's an okay contrarian play, but again, 5'2", that feels priced about right. Killian Hayes, his status is up in the air. If he misses, do they start DeLon Wright at point guard? I think they would. If they do, then DeLon Wright would become a viable value play. But that's really it for me on the Detroit side. Not a ton of interest. Now, Atlanta-Brooklyn, this is a game, obviously, I have interest in. Trae Young at the top at 10.1K, probable. Again, expect him to play mid-30s minutes or so. He had 53 fantasy points at last game. This game's when he played at a super fast pace. Again, not a lot of defense played, so Trae Young firmly in play at the top. Collins at 7.2, finally had a big game, 48 fantasy points for John Collins, even with Capella playing, but still only 31 minutes. I don't know if he can keep up that level of production with Capella there. It just kind of hurts his upside. Now, Capella himself, if they're going to continue to limit him to 20 minutes, I'm probably going to pass. There is some potential value here. Bogdan was a guy I liked last slate. He had 29 minutes, 33 fantasy points. I think he's okay. Again, price went up a little bit, but still viable. Gallinari out, Rondo out, possibly Hunter out. He's questionable. So if all these wings are out for Atlanta, I'm not a big Cam Reddish guy, but I think he would be firmly in play at 4-7. He still played 32 minutes, had 27 fantasy points. I think he would be a solid value. You could even look to a guy like Kevin Huerter if, again, all those guys are out. So possible value here with some of those wings in Atlanta if, Hunter's out. That could open up some minutes for them. On the Brooklyn side, I still like Kyrie. I still like KD. That last night, I still cannot believe Kevin Durant was 30% owned against Atlanta. At 8.4K, he was 30% owned. I literally, that was the most shocking thing ever that I've seen. I thought he would be literally 80 to 90% owned at that price. I literally thought there was a glitch or something. I was like, no way is he 30% owned. He was 30% owned against Atlanta. I still like him at 9-1. 63 fantasy points at last game. He just has a ton of upside in this matchup. So still like Kevin Durant a lot. I think ownership might go up and up a little bit after that big game, but still do have a good amount of interest. And I still have interest in Kyrie. Kyrie had a terrible start, shot the ball 10 of 27, and still put up 40 fantasy points. So these two have a good amount of upside and a great matchup. Like them at the top. Now, Karis LeVert's a guy I'm not going to get to, and the reason being they didn't close with him. He only played 24 minutes. I'm just not going to go there for them. He's going to play only 25 minutes. The value options, again, TLC started, but playing alongside those high usage guys, I don't want to go there. Taurean Prince had a nice game off the bench. When I played him, he wasn't great, but I guess he did only have 12 and 3. I thought I saw more rebounds for him, but yeah, I don't think I want to go with these value Nets guys. There's not a ton I'm super interested in. Really, it's the top guys. It's KD, it's Kyrie. I like them both a good amount here in this matchup. On the Chicago side, so Chicago's pretty thin. Lauri Markkanen out, Satoransky out, Hutchinson out. My boy Otto Porter won myself and a lot of the Patreon members a good amount of money today. 31 minutes, 57 fantasy points. I told you guys, again, if Lauri was out, you play Otto Porter. And he absolutely smashed. So with all these guys out, once again, I think Otto Porter firmly in play. My worry is he did shoot the ball really well, 10 of 14. And 14.5 point spread this one. It has a good chance of getting out of control or blowout. So there is some risk. If the game does stay competitive, though, I think Otto Porter can have a really nice game. And I do like the guards, too. They're a little bit underpriced. If they're going to stay in this game, it's got to be because of Levine and Kobe White plus Otto Porter, right? So I have interest in all three of the main guys here for Chicago. And I think, if you're building a lineup and you're playing either Giannis or Middleton or Drew Holiday, I think it would make sense to run it back with one of these Chicago guys because, again, if this game's going to stay competitive, I think the Chicago guys are a little bit too cheap. So interest in all three of those guys. Wendell Carter Jr. at 5'9". Don't know if we have to go there. I'd just rather prefer the guards and Otto Porter. There is some value here too. Patrick Williams did only play 18 minutes. Again, he did get some foul trouble. Expect the minutes to go up on him a bit. Thad Young, I think, is a nice value play. He played 27 minutes in his first game back. I think he is one of the better value plays on the board. Again, no Satoransky, no Hutchinson, so they're pretty thin. Like Garrett Temple should play some decent minutes. He played 28 minutes the last game. Not a high usage guy, but you could look to him. And then finally, Daniel Gafford off the bench, played 22 minutes, had a nice day. Will we get 22 minutes again? Probably not. But again, he's a good point per minute guy. Possible value there. So yeah, Chicago's a team that there's some risk involved here. They're pretty thin, but if this game stays competitive, and Otto Porter's too cheap, White's too cheap, Zach LaVine's too cheap. On the Milwaukee side, so if I knew this game was going to stay competitive, I would love Giannis. Again, I think it makes sense if you're playing Giannis to run it back with like Porter or one of those guards. So like one of the best possible matchups here against Chicago. He should crush if this game stays close. But again, 14.5 point spread, there's a good chance it does not. So it's all about your risk tolerance. But yeah, love Giannis and GPPs. I have Anderson, Middleton, and Drew Holiday too. Probably would prefer the price on Drew. Both had a bad shooting game the last game. Drew 4 of 15, Middleton 3 of 15. But these guys are still in play in a great matchup. And I think if you think this game blows out, this is the guy you want to look to. Bobby Portis. It is a revenge game. He did play in Chicago for a couple of years. In the 3 games that blew out, he's played 26, 26, and 26 minutes. And the games that have stayed competitive, 16 and 18. So you want to target Bobby Portis when you think the game is going to blow out. This game has a really good chance to blow out. So if you're taking that stance, I think Bobby Portis looks like a really nice play here. It does have upside. Would get extended in the blowout. Let's move on to Washington, Minnesota. And man, this I think is my favorite game to target. Reason being, well, we got some news to go over. Russell Westbrook, unlikely to play. So this literally changes everything. Bradley Beal, one of the best spend ups at 9.4K and one of the best possible matchups. Love Bradley Beal at 9.4. Really do like him. And then value. So the last game that Russell Westbrook's out, Raul Neto started. He played 32 minutes, had 40 fantasy points. So if Westbrook is in fact out and Raul Neto starts at 3.4, he becomes one of the top value plays of the slate. I would not expect 40 fantasy points again, but if we're going to get close to 30 minutes from him for starting point guard in this matchup, I just think he's, again, one of the best values in the board. So do have a lot of interest in Raul Neto, assuming he does start. I don't mind Thomas Bryant either. At 6'3", he had 40 fantasy points tonight. Again, this is a good matchup. No Karl-Anthony Towns, not super worried about the foul trouble. And he's playing the good minutes, 34 minutes. I think he's an interesting play in the mid-range that not a ton of people get to, but I do like Thomas Bryant. Now, Rui had a good shooting night, but did only play 25 minutes. I'm just a little bit worried they might, take it easy on him minutes-wise. We'll see. Again, they said likely around 20 minutes. We'll see what they do with him in this game. Again, Bertans, probably not for me. He's, again, shot the ball 0 of 8. Troy Brown, potential value here. In the game Westbrook was out, he played, 24 minutes? But again, I would prefer Raul Neto at a similar price. So really for me, it's Neto for value. It's Beal at the top. And I do like Thomas Bryant a good amount in the mid-range. On the Minnesota side, this is a team I like a lot too. D'Angelo Russell at 7.5, I think that's underpriced. I think people are going to have recency bias. Look at his box scores. Oh, he's only getting mid-30s fantasy points. They're going to avoid him. I think that's a mistake. This is a fantastic matchup against Washington. No Karl-Anthony Towns. I think he's one of the best spend-ups. Love D'Lo, love Beal. Again, this is like my favorite game to target. I also have a good amount of interest in Malik Beasley. He is going to be the number 2 in the offense. Again, shot the ball 5 of 16, still put up 24 fantasy points. Him, D'Lo are going to have to carry this offense. I do like them both in a great spot. I also have interest in Naz Reid. Again, a guy that's in foul trouble. Got banged up a bit, but I think, if this game stays competitive and he stays out of foul trouble, should play mid-20s minutes. I think he is certainly in play at that price. And then even some value plays. Like Ricky Rubio started. If Ricky Rubio starts again, I like him at 5-2. I assume we would probably get over 30 minutes from him if he does in fact start. Great matchup. Even Jared Culver, he started. Now shot the ball 0 of 10, but he started to play 26 minutes. So if he starts again, I like him. So really, again, Minnesota's a team I like a lot on this slate. Again, this is definitely my favorite game to target, Washington, Minnesota. Let's move on, though. Lakers, San Antonio. So key piece of news to monitor is LeBron James. The MLS is questionable. I assume he's going to be good to go. Now, if he does play, him, AD are secondary plays. If he misses, AD looks decent, and then Dennis Schroeder probably become one of the better plays in the mid-range. But I assume LeBron James is going to play. So really, if he does play, Lakers are just a team I don't have a ton of interest in. Harrell's a little too pricey. Kuzma will be a little too pricey. And just the value. Again, don't really think we have to go to Gasol or KCP on the slate. So honestly, if LeBron James plays, there's just really not a ton I like on the Lakers side. On the Spurs side, it's a little different. So, again, I got DeJounte Murray at pretty low ownership the last game. He absolutely smashed for 50 fantasy points in 35 minutes. My worry here is now we have the potential to get popped. And the reason I say that, Derek White healthy. So, if you guys played Spurs players last year, if you messed around with the point guard rotation, you knew how it would go. You knew how it went, right? You play DeJounte Murray. He plays 20 minutes. Popovich gives the minutes to Patty Mills, or Popovich gives the minutes to Derek White. If you're new to DFS, yes, you're going to get popped multiple times throughout your career. That is my worry here. Derek White is healthy, so I think the minutes go down for DeJounte Murray, even though he had a good game last game, so I'm just a little bit hesitant there. DeRozan, I feel a little bit more comfortable at the minutes. Again, these are the top two pieces in the offense, so probably would give edge to him just because, again, Derek White healthy worries me about DeJounte Murray's minutes. LaMarcus Aldridge is questionable. This is pretty big news. If he's out, I think Jakob Poeltl's a pretty solid value play at 4 or 5. Now, people might box score watch and see it only played 24 minutes and kind of avoid him. Well, again, that's a mistake. He got in foul trouble, picked up 3 fouls in the first 6 minutes, did not play the rest of the first half. So I think the plan is if he stays out of foul trouble to play about 30 minutes, 30 plus. And at 4 or 5, that would be a little bit underpriced. So, yeah, Jakob Poeltl will become a viable value play. But then, yeah, like the wings and the other guys with Derek White playing, it makes them riskier. Guys like Keldon Johnson, Rudy Gay, Lonnie Walker, even Patty Mills, right? So just one more body in this rotation, it makes these guys all a little riskier. Let's move on to Phoenix and Denver. Phoenix is a team I don't have a lot of interest in. Not the best matchup. Booker is still, in my opinion, a little bit too pricey at 8K. Ayton and Chris Paul seem priced about right in the mid-range. The wings are there's too many wings. Bridges, Crowder, Johnson, Saric. I'm not going to go to anyone in Phoenix. So that was pretty easy. On the Denver side, I do like Jokic at 10-6. He's been absolutely smashing this season. 50-plus fantasy points in every single game. 74, 51, 72, and 60 fantasy points. And this is a fantastic matchup. What I'm worried about is I think this game has potential. Maybe it might get out of hand. But yeah, Jokic at the top. Love him if you can get to him. Now, Jamal Murray, this changes the slate. They're hopeful he'll play. We'll see. If he does miss, then a guy like Monte Morris becomes a really nice value play. He played 37 minutes that last game. So he'd become one of the best value plays if Jamal Murray's out. And then that would also make Michael Porter Jr. a really nice play in the mid-range who really stepped it up when Jamal Murray's out. So this changes things, right? If Jamal Murray's out, Monte Morris, really good value play. Michael Porter Jr., a nice play in the mid-range. If Jamal Murray's in, I don't know if I like anyone else besides Jokic. So, again, got to monitor that status. It is a late game, though, unfortunately. Clippers Jazz, this is a game that'll be pretty quick. Kawhi, Paul George, tougher matchup. This game should be played at a slower pace. Don't have a ton of interest there. Marcus Morris might be back. Might be one more body in the rotation. I'm not going to play him if he does play, but would definitely make these other guys riskier. I mean, I think the guy I like the best is Lou Williams just because he's priced under 5K and he can get hot. Back-to-back games that blew out. I think the plan is to play mid-20s minutes. So Lou would probably be my favorite play in the Clippers, but really, there's not a lot I like here. Especially if Marcus Morris plays, that's just another body in the rotation. On the Utah side, kind of the same thing. Like Gobert, Mitchell. Mitchell is below 7K, but still, I don't know if I want to go there. I think he is a little underpriced, but not like a necessity for me. Rudy Gobert at 7.4, it seems a little cheap. And Conley's priced about right. Bojan's priced right. Clarkson is a guy that will play mid-20s minutes off the bench, but do we have to go there? I don't know. Royce O'Neal's priced up a little bit to 4.2. So really, just this game in general is kind of a cross-off for me. Last game, Portland Golden State. This is a game I have a little bit more interest in. Now, Lillard at 9.8. Good matchup here. He's been not the best to start the season. A couple of games where he shot the ball not great. But we know Damian Lillard has a good amount of upside. Now, at this price, though, I would suit him more as a GPP play. CJ McCollum sets 8.4K. He has been playing really well this season. 36, 66, 50, 39 fantasy points. He's been playing better than Lillard. It's a good matchup. I think he's fine, but again, not a priority for me. Nurkic at 6.7 is an interesting buy low. He had a terrible game that last game against the Clippers, but this is a much better spot against Golden State. I think the plan is to play him 25 to 30 minutes, which does make him riskier, right? If I knew Nurkic was going to play over 30 minutes, I would love him tonight. But I think the plan is they're going to take it easy on his minutes, so it does make him riskier. But I think he does have some upside in this matchup. Now, Cantor's a guy that I've been looking to for value. He's going to come off the bench, back up Nurkic, and probably play about 20 minutes. If the game blows out a little bit more, he's a good point per minute guy. So I think he's a viable play at that price. The wings, Covington, Jones Jr., there's pretty low usage guys. I think Melo is probably my favorite of the wings. He'll play mid-20s minutes. I think he's okay, but probably, again, don't have to go there. And that's really it for the Golden State side, or the Portland side. The Golden State side, I like Steph Curry at 9.6. Good matchup here. This game should stay competitive. 36 and 35 minutes in competitive games, 56 and 48 fantasy points. So like the upside in Steph. Again, if they're going to stay in this game, it's got to be because of a big game from Steph Curry. So I think he is firmly in play at the top. Wiggins had a good game last game, but I don't play Andrew Wiggins. You guys know that. 36 and 38 minutes is good to see, but I'm not going to go there. If you guys want to do it, it's fine. I'm not saying, I don't think he's the worst play. I literally just don't play him. So yeah, you can go there. I don't play him. Draymond Green looking like he'll be back. I assume he's going to be a minutes limit, so that just kind of takes a hit to everyone else in this offense. Like maybe a slight hit to Wiseman, slight hit to Oubre. There's just not a ton I like with Draymond coming back. Again, assume he's going to be in the minutes limit. So really for me, it's Steph Curry at the top, and that's about it. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos, you don't go live. But thanks again, guys. I hope you guys all have a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow for the first slate of 2021 season.